already know the move that God's asking you to make. You just haven't done it yet. Instead of moving, you keep telling yourself you need more clarity, a better strategy, and a full plan. I need to say this clearly and carefully because I've lived it myself. Sometimes our need for certainty is actually distrust disguised as diligence. I know because I spent 15 years delaying obedience before finally leaving a $200,000 corporate career to start a business with no clients lined up because God told me to. And I can tell you, every major breakthrough in my business came after obedience, not after having a perfect plan. In this video, I'm going to show you the 3 internal blocks that keep high-achieving founders exhausted, stuck, and disconnected from the growth God is actually trying to lead them into. So let's dive in. Let me tell you a quick story that connects. My family and I were taking a road trip down to Nashville. I have 2 young boys. And my 4-year-old was in the back, and he was like, "Where are we going? Which way are we going?" And I was like, "We're taking the highway down to Nashville." And he's like, "No, but which way are we going?" And in my frustration, it was like, even if I told you, you wouldn't understand. And in that moment, God convicted me. And he was like, "That's exactly how I feel about you." But it's so true because he's like, hey, our humanly minds can't even comprehend the big picture and the big vision that God has for us. Even if he gave it to us all at one time, our brains wouldn't be able to digest it. And that's often how we are when we ask him for the full plan. So now, why do we really want the full plan? What are we really asking for? Oftentimes, it's one of 2 things. You're asking because you don't fully trust, or 2, you're asking because you think that you have a better way to potentially solve it. You asking him because you think you know better than him? You think that he don't have your best interest at heart? So oftentimes when we say we need more clarity, it's really that we are trying to eliminate the need to trust God. And the shift that we need to make is to move with obedience and take action before we have certainty, before we have the full plan. Because if you had the full plan, you wouldn't need to depend on the source. You want the full plan because you want to be in control. That's one of the things that we have to stop. The second thing that often gets people held up from receiving all of that God has for them is fear of making the wrong move. The reason that we have fear of making the wrong move is because we believe that the wrong move will break us. We start to think, well, what if this fails? What if it doesn't work? And we start to dream up all these possibilities of the ways that we will fall into our demise if the result that we want doesn't materialize. And the reason behind that is because you've tied your identity to the outcomes. So you have pinned your success and who you are and how you are defined on the outcomes. We must recognize that one business decision doesn't have the power to define our worth. Your identity is rooted in God, not in an outcome. The last trap is the self-sufficiency trap. And this is where you be trying to carry stuff that ain't yours to carry. You be trying to sit in God's seat. And that's why everything feels heavy, because you're trying to be the source instead of the steward. You want to be in control of everything. In 2 Corinthians chapter 1, Paul writes, "We were under great pressure, far beyond our ability to endure, so that we despaired of life itself." That's how hard it was. They despaired of life itself. The pressure of everything was so hard. And then he said something incredibly important in that chapter. He says, "But this happened that we might not rely on ourselves, but on God." So I want you to know that the pressure that you're feeling is very likely a reminder to lean on God and stop trying to do it all by yourself. So the shift that I encourage you to make is to move from self-reliance to stewardship. Stop trying to do everything of your own strength and ask God to step in where you are weak. And when you do those 3 things, that's when the results unlock. What if the move you've been avoiding is actually the doorway to the growth you've been praying for? If this hits you deeply, hit like so this message reaches more faith-driven founders carrying pressure they were never meant to carry.